All right, all right, all right. Happy Wednesday night, everybody. My name is 12 Gauge. Welcome to my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. If this is your first time to the channel, thank you so much for being here. If you've been here before, thank you. And be kind enough to hit a like, subscribe, and share if you enjoy the content. Tonight, we're going to talk about the 38th anniversary of the day Gary and Stephanie Gillette were found murdered. This was the Corpus Christi case out of Texas. Um, so we're gonna go back some time, but you know what? True crime is true crime, regardless how much time has gone by. And I was looking at this case and thought it might seem interesting to revisit and actually talk about. So let's listen to the video. And here we go. I will be giving commentary. And this is for educational purposes only because I do talk about the procedural process of investigation and also the criminal justice system in all of my videos. I try to break down how the process works and explain it a little simpler for the audience. 38 years. Obviously, the family still needs answers. Well, let's get on to it.
Stephanie Gillette, a loving couple, were killed in the comfort of their home. It was a horrific scene. Gary and Stephanie were brutally murdered.
It's changed our lives dramatically.
The couple's car was found several blocks away from their home, abandoned in a residential neighborhood. Since then, the daughters have become advocates to one day find the truth.
And as you all know, time doesn't heal old wounds. You just learn to live with it. Many times in this true crime community, we hear about families that are grieving, families that have gone through loss. It doesn't heal just because you know, or especially if you don't know. The lack of not knowing intensified the pain, I would believe, because once your loved one is gone, they're gone.
So on December 13th, 1985, Gary and Stephanie Gillette attended a Christmas party together at the tramp steamer on Navigation and Leopard Street.
2 days later, on December 15th, they were located in their homes, murdered. Through the investigation, it was found that whomever committed the murder also stole the victim's vehicle.
Okay, so the individual breaks into the home, steals the vehicle. That's what we have so far. There's no way I could have stolen a vehicle like that back then. It's too big and too long for me to ever feel comfortable behind the wheel of that thing. But that's how they were built that back then, most of them. So that tells you that somebody felt comfortable stealing this vehicle.
Gary's vehicle, it was a 1970 Buick Electra convertible, nice vehicle, for that time, was stolen from his garage and parked several blocks away in front of someone else's house. A nightmare, an absolute nightmare. Roller coaster rides of emotions. It's been hard. It's been very hard.
Fear, a lot of fear. Just over the years, attempting to try to get things solved or just reaching out in general, scared, not knowing who really is involved, not knowing if we're next or if we start reaching out too much and start digging too deep. Is it going to stir up the person or people that are involved?
And she had a good point there. When you go looking for somebody who has committed a crime, that doesn't want to be found, what would they do next? If they murdered your mom and dad, would they come after you next? People don't seem to understand that fear of the unknown, not knowing who it is, not knowing what they're about, not knowing their mental state, not knowing their reasoning for killing your loved ones. So this daughter has every bit the opportunity to be telling the world how she feels.
To come after us to quieten us, so yeah, it's scary, especially for our kids, our grandkids, and not knowing what's going to happen.
I think knowing that I guess our childhood was kind of taken away and that evil exists out there and just gets to run free.
It's a little disturbing when you have to learn that at a young age, and then you have to grow up and know it, and just you never have that peace of mind that the person responsible is being held accountable. You never have that peace of mind in this situation. So you have a multitude of emotions, and
I can't believe growing up with that feeling over your head, that feeling of not knowing who murdered your parents. Many times people want to know why. They want to know why. They ask why. What happened? What caused my family to be hurt this way? Were they into something illegal? Did they owe people money? Or were they just at the wrong place at the wrong time? Did they know too much about something? If you watch true crime at all, you understand that there's layers of reasoning behind people getting killed. Jealousy, money, or retaliation.
to pinpoint it, I would have to say we've had them all.
Yeah.
But most of all, I would say in our state of mind right at this moment, it's determination. Definitely determination. Not to mention that our kids have watched us go through the, last 30-something years of interviews and getting our hopes up and just praying and wishing and hoping something would come about.
But not only that, it's more trying to raise your kids to not be as scared as you are, like trying to hide that fear that you've grown up with, trying to teach them that there is good in the world when you've been exposed to nothing but monsters.
I absolutely believe that this case can be solved for numerous reasons, one of which is advances in DNA technology. In addition to our ability to reach out to individuals, we have recontacted witnesses that were originally contacted by detectives at the time of the offense.
There's a lot of advancement in technology, DNA technology. There's a whole lot more that can be done with a little bit of evidence, and we're hopeful that that's the case with this.
A big part of it is the hard work that we put into it. Our detectives have put into it. We've gone out and re-interviewed known witnesses that were interviewed at the time. We've also identified.
And then you know that anytime that you reopen a case such as this, it's a cold case, obviously. So you have different eyes on the case. So as we watch one time in the library, there's a video of criminal investigation. And one thing the lady said as she was taking photographs and videos of the crime scene is she said, who knows if somebody later on will be picking this case up because it becomes a cold case. I want to leave them the best information and photos so they don't have to second guess what was going on in that murder scene. She said, I want to leave them a trail for them to see something maybe I missed in a photograph. Maybe something I photographed or video they can take a look at it later on, and it can assist them in solving the crime.
Additional witnesses that were never contacted at the time of the initial investigation, and we're continuing to head in that direction. And then, of course, the tremendous advances that have been made in DNA technology through the years, that is what probably is the most promising thing about the entire investigation. It's amazing how many cases throughout the country that have been solved with just small, minute traces of DNA. And that's the direction we're proceeding with this case.
If you have a key piece of information and you have any soul in your body, why would you not come forward?
I say, I don't care who it is and how little the information is. Any little thing that you could remember, if you remember anything can help. I mean, one little flash of something could be the key to everything. And you just don't know unless you come forward and say something.
If you have any information at all, please contact us. I would actually say that if we have already spoken with you and you've remembered something, which is often the case, I will interview individuals who will call me 1, 2, 3 weeks later and say, I forgot to tell you this. Or after having spoken with you, I remembered something additional. If that is you, if you have any additional information whatsoever, please do not.
And that's an interesting point right there, because all these police interview videos that we watch, people are quick to critique the techniques. Is it because they don't understand it? Is it because they want to make the police look foolish in the way they're interrogating with their questions? Or is it they're just trying to play armchair quarterback? You know what I mean? The fact of the matter is when you're interviewing somebody, you're not interrogating them. So you're asking very subtle questions, just like this man said, to try to jar a memory, because you don't want to be telling the witness what they saw, what they heard, or any of that, because that could be misleading the investigation. So anytime somebody watches an interrogation or an interview of a witness, it's interesting to hear their comments about how the interview went, how terrible this guy is at asking questions. Well, you know what? You do understand that if you ask certain questions, you're leading the witness. You're giving them parts of the answer in which you want. It has to be very open-ended. Most of them are yes, no, a little bit of dialogue. Nothing more, nothing less.
Not hesitate to come forward and contact us. I want to speak with you.
I really believe that there's somebody out there who knows something, whether it was a partial involvement or somebody that was told what happened by the persons involved. I strongly believe that there's somebody out there that knows the full story.
In 1985, we received a Crime Stoppers tip in reference to the victim's vehicle that was stolen. An individual called in with incredibly accurate information as to when and where that vehicle was dropped off. If you're that individual that gave us that information, we're asking you specifically to please contact us again so that we can speak with you. I understand at the time you called in anonymously through Crime Stoppers. You can do that again. However, I would greatly appreciate it if you reached out to us directly.
And as for anyone who may know anything, to murder 2 people brutally the way Gary and Stephanie Gillette were murdered, the person or persons responsible over the last 38 years, they had to have told somebody. That's a big secret to keep. And the person that they might have told, we ask you that if you know anything at all, let us know. This is a huge secret to keep. And so if you think maybe we've already talked to you, or they talked to you back then, or You might assume we know this information. Please contact us and let us know.
You took part of our life from us. Something we'll never get back. Something our kids will never get, and their kids will never get. How do you replace that?
My
You
thing
know.
would be is I hope you can look in the mirror every day at yourself and look at your kids, look at your grandkids, your great grandkids at that matter, and think what they would be going through if someone took that from them, because that's what you've done to us. You've done that to 4 generations, you know, not just family, but friends and everybody that was involved in that. You took that away without a care in the world.
It's a matter of time. We aren't going to stop on this case. The family's not going to stop on this case. And we want to hear from you. We want to talk to you.
Do the right thing.
Because a lot of times you have to be gathering the information in a way to prove the case to the court. You can't just be going on assumption. You can't be going on false leads. You have to investigate everything. So when somebody acts like whenever they're doing an investigation, that they're supposed to take every tip as if on everything, that's true. But the truth of the matter is, how much is untrue. And like I always say, it's not about making a suspect, it's more about eliminating potential suspects that have nothing to do with the crime. Let's finish this up and let's get to another case.
It's the anniversary's coming up. It's Christmas time of year. Gary Gillette's birthday just passed. Give the family this one thing. You took away 38 years of their life with their dad and their stepmom who they adored. No, you can give them this one thing.
Having to deal with the family and see and feel the pain that they're going through. In working this case, I take that home with me. At home, at night, I'm thinking about this case. At home, at night, I'm thinking about these victims. And I want to bring them closure.
Maybe a Christmas miracle. Give us some answers.
But just know we're never going to stop.
If
Ever.
you give us answers, we'll leave it. But if you don't, we're not stopping.
Never.
Our kids won't stop. Our grandkids won't stop. Somebody will eventually find out.
Even after death, if that's what it takes. You know, I mean, that's what closure looks like to me, is somebody being held accountable.
And there's the number. If you have any information on this murder, the number is 361-826-2956, or Detective Rodriguez at 361-886-2843. This family needs some answers, and I'm sure the answer is out there. You just have to be willing enough to give them that closure they're looking for. Well, let's see if there's another one that we can watch that let's see. Let's watch a robbery take place. Here we go. Hope everybody's doing wonderful tonight. Week's half over. Having a lot of stuff happening this week for a lot of people. Hope you guys are okay. And here's a robbery captured by a Ring camera. It says, if you know this male, call Crime Stoppers at 888-TIPS or 8477. You know, it's sad that businesses don't have a quick panic button. See, that lady kind of fought back. But think about that a little bit. How he just walks in. It's almost like he's been there before, because who would just be bold enough to walk into a place like that and to cross that threshold like he knew there was nothing that could stop him? Think about that a little bit. You know, a lot of times we look at these videos and we want to critique them. We want to show our impression of what we see, because a lot of these places are just, a lot of these videos are that common, and it just it's just wild to me that people are that brazen, that brazen. Well, let's look at the homeless population. We don't really look at that often, but we have all the time in the world, and I don't have to worry about the chat rolling, whether there's 5 people in here or there's 20 people in here. Just kind of gives me the same freedom I once had when I first started the channel. Here we go. This video is made by Nick Johnson. Said the Oakland, California homeless problem is beyond belief. Let's see what he has to show us.
Oakland, California sure does have a homeless problem. Driving around town, there's homeless encampments all over the place. They're on the sides of the roads and dirt lots. There's long stretches of them on sidewalks. Some are in tents, some are in RVs, some are actual encampments with makeshift structures where hundreds of people gather into communities. It's estimated there's about 5,000 homeless individuals throughout the city of Oakland, but nobody really knows the exact answer. And the number of people on the streets in Oakland's nearly doubled in the last 2 years alone.
Doesn't that look like a third world country? I cannot believe in America that there's actually places where people live like this. It's hard to understand it. I mean, if I was driving down that avenue right there, it looks like, if any of y'all have ever been to Mexico, it looks like a third world country, just like Mexico does along the border in some places. Not in all places, but look at this. How did it get this bad? You have to ask yourself, are prices really that high that these individuals chose to live like this? Or is this something that they're doing out of necessity? Because I cannot imagine having to live that life. And if things continue as they are, and there's such an imbalance in wages versus, prices of inflation, there's going to be a lot more people probably living like that. Because not everybody has the luxury to have the monetary gains needed to stay off the streets. But do some of these people really, did they choose this life? Is it easier to live off the grid, to live free without having to pay bills, pay rent, and just live in a makeshift shelter? I've never understood the homeless, and all the time studying it, it just has never made sense, because they present it in a way where you're studying it, and it's presented in a way where it's some kind of tragedy that occurs where an individual feels like they've lost everything, and they go into survivalistic instinct, and this is what you have. You have people living in the cars, you have people living in makeshift structure. I mean, And the fact of the matter is, some of these places are owned by businesses behind these fences. Or even alongside this road, there's famine, there's all kinds of stuff. Let's see what this man had to say.
We started feeding people out of my house. And then me and my wife ended up separated, and I ended up in the streets. That was about 15 years ago. I ended up down here. I was the first one down here. The police ran me out of here.
You were the first one here.
First one here. There was no tents, no nothing. I had a black Dodge Dakota. I was sleeping in. I was scrapping metal at that time. And then I got sick from being down here and all this stuff. See, these people get sick. You get sick from not from the COVID, not from none of that. It's from the garbage that people come dump. These aren't the people that's dumping this stuff.
Yeah, I mean, look, like, yeah.
And that's another thing is the famine that happens, the diseases that get spread, the things that, I mean, the lack of running water, the lack of hygiene, the lack of being able to heal open wounds and things like that. I mean, there's a lot of death, I'm sure.
You can tell these aren't the people that's dumping this stuff.
No.
Cars are coming in here, trucks are coming here, loads coming here and dumping stuff here. And so the rat problem that we have are from people that are dumping. So I had a tent down here for a long time. And then just about a couple of months ago, they moved me into my apartment.
How long were you here?
I was here about 15 years.
15 years.
Yeah.
Living in a Dakota.
Yeah.
And you finally
A tent and a Dakota.
And you finally got out of here after 15 years.
Yeah.
How did you get out of here?
Huh?
How did you get out of here?
Focus. I'm not a man. I could live on the street. I could survive on the street, but I don't belong on the street. None of us belong on the street. A lot of these people on the street are productive members of society. Doctors, lawyers, dentists, secretaries, construction workers, electricians, plumbers, mechanics. All these people here have a trade, and they've been pushed out by these .comers, by how Oakland has took the rent control and put it on stable. So now the people that, because they're on stable, these guys come in here, they build these places, and now a studio costs $3,000. A studio? Come on, who pays $3,000 for a studio?
And he's talking real talk right there, because I was pricing residences the other day because that's what I do. I keep up to date with the networking area in the city. And like you were saying, $3,000 for an economy apartment. That's not very big. Well, I was looking around here, and it was like $1,200, $1,300, $1,800, $1,600. While Lubbock, the city where I was doing my training last week, you could get a 3-bedroom house for $500 a month. $500 a month. While the smaller the area seems, especially here in Texas, the closer you are to the oil money, they believe that everybody has that oil field money. And not everybody does. So if you don't have it, or you're struggling to be able to get a job where you can pay your bills, I could see why a lot of people would be living just like these individuals have been living. And this man has been living homeless on the street for 15 years. Let that sink in a little bit. 15 years. That's hard to fathom. That's hard to take. Just hearing that. I mean, and all the stuff that you have to worry about that many of us at this moment take for granted.
A studio costs $3,000, so that's what happens when you get pushed out and there's no rent control. In Berkeley has rent control, but we don't.
So what did you saved up money and were able to get a cheap place? Is that how you got?
No, there's programs Project Dignity and BACS is a good program to hang with. And these programs will help you get out of here. As long as you stay focused, as long as you stay on their backs, they're going to help you get out of here. And I stayed on them. I didn't want to survive, and I didn't want to live here. I didn't want to die here. I didn't want to die on the streets. That's what I didn't want to do. And so I stayed on their backs. Project Dignity got me into a program called Safer Ground. Safer Ground put me in a Days Inn out there in East Oakland. I stayed out there for like 4 months. Then my housing came through. BACS helped me with housing and get into the program. I got into a BACS program. Then they helped me get into abode. Then abode placed me into a place. These programs work if you.
I mean, that is true as far as what he's saying, but you have to stay on it. You have to be persistent because there's so many people looking to utilize these programs that, you got to just be after them and continue to follow up.
Know how to get into the system.
So given how much did you have to pay to get a place? Did the city pay for everything and you just...
The city basically paid for my first, last, and deposit, and I pay rent every month.
And the rent's cheaper than it would be if you... Yeah. What's the rent cost?
My rent is $276 a month.
And who pays for the rest of that?
I guess housing does.
Like the city of Oakland or something like that?
Housing authority or something like that.
How long do you get to live cheap like that?
As long as I pay my rent, and as long as I renew my lease, and as long as I do what they...
I had a friend that was living in a place kind of like this. He was paying $25 a month for rent. $25. And the dude was bad off. He was an alcoholic. So all his money would go to drinking and cigarettes, right? He's no longer around. But $25 a month. He had an apartment. It didn't have much in it, but there are some people, and he was one of them, that always would get a break. And instead of utilizing it, he would piss it away. This man is not one of those.
Expect me to do.
There's hundreds of people here. Why don't they?
Because they're still building places for these people.
Yeah, but you're not in a new. You're like in a Days Inn. Are you in a new place?
I'm in a new apartment.
Like an affordable, like the new
I
unit.
have a 1-bedroom, the Arroyo apartment, the Aurora apartment.
Like brand new. The city built
brand
for
new.
This problem.
No, no. The city didn't build it. A company came from out of state and built 4 complexes.
So that the homeless people have a place to transition to. Now we just don't have enough cheap places for all these people, though. There's thousands.
We do, but we don't. There's a system. I'm gonna say this one more time. Where there's a problem, there's a solution. There's a solution to every problem. Just like when you go fishing. If that line breaks, there's a solution to that line breaking. You attach it to another line, and once you attach it to another line, you throw it out there and catch the fish. It's the same with the whole homelessness. You attach it to another line and fish and catch them and send them somewhere else. It's a solution to this problem. We just don't use that solution. There's a big solution. Oakland gets too much money for the homelessness for it not to be for these people. Man, all these vacant buildings, open up a shelter, open up mini shelters.
Like right here.
Yeah, you got all this stuff out here. You got all these buildings, you got all these lands, you got all this abandoned stuff, and you talking about there's a solution. Oakland has too much money for it not to.
He's spitting some real talk there. I mean, because there are a lot of abandoned buildings in these bigger cities, in the industrial areas, that have been left behind, just standing there, not being used. But at the same time, if it was that easy, there would be no criminal element, there would be no drug addiction, there would be no kind of gun control needed. I say that lightly because I do believe in the Second Amendment, but at the same time, people they have to want to help themselves. Because if they don't want to help themselves, then we're just going to continue to regurgitate the problem.
Be a solution. There's a big solution. I got a big solution for this problem. You can help people. You can get them. You can get them medical. You can get them back to the workforce. You can do all that through these programs that they got.
Mm-hmm.
It's no way that these people should be homeless.
So, a lot of people say homeless people, they're addicts. They made decisions that they need to. If you want to create a situation where you can live like that, then you deserve to live like that. You made that choice. Like, I don't know. Is that not true?
That's all bullshit. You tell those people that think that 90% of these people are using dope, using drugs, that's a lie.
Or like you did, and then that's how they became homeless was addictions.
No.
So what percentage of the people out here in this place?
Probably 5% of people use drugs.
Used or use?
Use drugs. Use drugs. Use whatever situation you want.
So 1 out of 20 is an addict. The rest are people like yourself that
want to get out of here. That want to get out of here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's not in this lifetime.
I mean, I don't believe anybody wants to live on the street. Honestly, I believe wholeheartedly that nobody wants to live on the street. Nobody wants to be in that struggle. But you have to be willing to continue to press, even when it gets hard. You have to be working smarter rather than working harder.
They were pushed to the streets. These people wasn't addicts. These people didn't use drugs. Some of these people worked in the city. Some of these people work with the councilman. Some of these you have no idea how much education is out here on the street. So they could miss me with that bullshit about the drugs and all that shit. That shit's a lie. All that shit's a lie. Don't believe the hype. It's not true. It's not true at all.
So you think it's just a cost of living problem?
Yeah.
It's just too expensive for people to live.
Who can pay $3,000 for a studio?
Why don't they just leave Oakland and go somewhere to Oklahoma where it's $700?
Well, you gotta understand this. This is their home.
Yeah.
Most of these people were raised here. Most of these people were born here. They shouldn't have to leave where they want to be. I shouldn't have to leave and go to Denver. I'm from Ohio. It's way cheaper in Ohio than it is here, but I love California. I love California. I love Oakland, California more than anything. So why should I have to leave? Because you decide that you want to put rent control on hold and push us into the street. It's not fair.
Are they going to ever fix it? Or
they're going to have to fix it.
But it seems like it's getting worse. With the cost of living is not going down.
And that is a little bit on the homeless problem. It has to be fixed. But the age-old question is, who's responsible? Who's responsible in making the change? Are we responsible? Are the people living on the street responsible? Who's responsible for making the change? Because I believe at one particular point, we got to quit passing the buck. Somebody needs to be held accountable. Otherwise, it's just going to be a proverbial passing of the buck. Well, they need to do this. We need to do that. We can't do this because of that. I hope that you enjoyed tonight's upload. Y'all have a wonderful night. Once again, my name is 12 Gauge, and this is my channel, 12 Gauge Investigative. Maestro, cue that music.